Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Super excited for today's episode. We're going to be diving in from the aspect of a summit speaker, and I have legendary Dave Chesson with me. He's the creator of Kindlepreneur, recommended by Amazon KDP, and one of the largest book marketing websites. How are you doing today, Dave?
Not too bad, and thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun today. I'm excited. We were on our pre-interview chat just a moment ago talking about what we're going to be diving into, and it's a topic we have never discussed yet on this podcast. So I'm really excited for our summit hosts to hear that and our speakers as well. But before we jump into that information, Dave, would you just take a few moments and let our audience know just a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Well, I actually used to be in the military. And I got into writing books and selling them on Amazon when we had a whole bunch, when I was actually stationed away from family and I was trying to find a way to basically make money on the side while also building a business. And it was from that analysis of Amazon and trying to figure out, why does Amazon choose to show one person's book over another and not mine? And from there, I started to dig in more. And that's what made me create Kindlepreneur.com. And since then, I've been able to get out of the military, and I'm now full-time at home with my kids. So living the dream.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your service. I'm military as well, so it's always great to have military members here supporting entrepreneurs and military people. So that's awesome. Rock on. What branch of the military were you in?
Same to you. Navy.
Nice. I was Army. Okay. So we'll make this, we'll be civil to each other. We'll make this work no matter what. No, I'm just joking with you. All right, Dave. So on top of the book publishing, you're obviously getting a lot of opportunities to go out and talk about what you're creating through speaking platforms. One of those being virtual summits, which is, how we were connected, how I found your information, which is absolutely stunning. So I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about in the aspect of a speaker. Now, we've talked on other episodes on like how to set up your signature talk and, what should you offer. But one of the things we've never really covered that, as we both agree, is a fundamental aspect of the success is what's also involved in your environment, in your setup. So what I would love to have you kind of shed some light on for our summit hosts there and our summit speakers is maybe from an equipment standpoint. What are some of those must-haves, some of those like extra special sauce, and maybe some things to keep in mind when you're talking about equipment?
Yeah, well, when it comes to equipment, I mean, the number one thing you can do for sure is have a clear signal, right? I mean, the microphone is important. I could be passing the most amazing content possible, blowing minds, but like nobody's going to listen if they can't hear it or sounds scratchy or echoey or something like that. The other thing too is to make sure that you've got headphones. Now, you may be saying to yourself, "Hey, Dave, where are yours?" These little in-ear hidden ones so that it's not like these giant bulky things. Because I mean, have you ever gone to listen to somebody speak at an event, like, up on stage and they've just got these giant, Leia Organa ears on them, or something like that? No, of course not. So you don't come in with these bulky headphones, but make sure that you have them because you don't want feedback. Another thing is making sure that you have a camera because, well, let's face it, you got to have one. And most webcams, like the one I've got here, will do the trick, but that's really important. And then I would say too is making sure that you've set up the right lighting. I actually have this office in a cave. It's in a basement, and I can't use natural lighting like it looks like you're using, Mark. So I had to set up the right type of lights to be able to make it that I look as decent as I do now. Otherwise, if I turn this off, we'll even do it just for fun. I mean, okay, and maybe we turn off my background light here. and the background light over there, or and I turn on one of these yellow lights and how does that look? Like that doesn't look great at all. And you're just sitting there seeing yellow, and some weird blue light, and people just start looking at you and they're thinking less and less of your authority. I'm not saying it's all about image, but when people have to listen to you and stare at you for 1 hour, give them the best you can. And so there you go. Let me turn back my ring light here. But yeah, getting down that lighting, getting down the settings so that you can really put your best foot forward, not just with your content, but also with your appearance.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
No, I like that because you bring up a concept which is important. I mean, we all know it. Like impressions matter, especially first impressions. And I've seen some spectacular entrepreneurs, really talented people that I've seen them on stages, right? And I'm like, wow, like physical stages, they look incredible. Like, and you're like, that's an influencer, that's a thought leader, that's somebody I need to follow. But then I've seen those same entrepreneurs like on a summit and, maybe they're in a hotel or something like that. They're traveling and there are things that come up, but then you're like, wait, is that your pajamas behind you laying on the bed or, whatnot. So you definitely want to keep
Right.
that in mind. So I think that is important. And you just mentioned equipment. So I think you would agree there's varieties of types, but what's your thought process? Do you think they have to go out and buy the most expensive equipment out there, or should they buy the least expensive, or what's kind of your thought process on that?
Yeah, I think that if there's a level, like there's a point where the standard is right where it should be, and to put more money into it, like way more money, only increases your quality by just a tiny amount. Okay, for example, I've got this Audio Technica ATR. It's like $60. I think it's the same one as yours. Yeah, this thing is amazing. I run a 7-figure business, and I don't need to upgrade. I don't need to increase the complexity. I don't need to spend $1,000 for the Heil 40, whatever it is, with a giant sound box or whatever. Now, if I did it, okay, yeah, it might be a bit clearer for thousands of dollars. So you see what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do that. I've just got a regular Logitech webcam that we're using right now. Sure, I've got a DSLR set up here, but I'm not going to go through the complexity of trying to pay for a black box and have it go through and then do so I can look a bit clearer. Like, no way. I use that for video for YouTube. We do a lot of that, but I don't need to do it. I could probably get away with this. So having a $60 Logitech, I think, is absolutely enough. Having a dedicated microphone like the ATR, like you've got and I've got, more than enough. The ring light, I had to get that because I live in a cave. So I got a Diva ring light on Amazon. I think I spent like $90, but it's perfect white light. I mean, I can adjust it right. And I set it right behind my computer, which, we can provide a picture of what that looks like. And it's permanently there. So I could just reach over and be like, all right, let's adjust this. Let's, set it up. It's game time. Good to go. These headphones here were just $10 on Amazon. Just that one little simple step, just type in around the ear clear earphones and you'll find them. And now you've taken care of the most important parts, which is your sound, a bit of the presentation, a bit of the visual, and at least the lighting. Because I'm telling you, you got that yellow look in your eyes and people are going to be like, oh, good Lord, or just set yourself up with daylight. But anything else beyond that, I think is just icing on the cake. And sometimes you're just going to put a lot of money into something that's only going to improve the quality by just a teeny bit.
No, I really like this, and you've nailed the components that I also believe are important. You've got your sound, you've got your look, you've got your lighting, and then of course you've got your microphone. So we're talking sound, like as far as the ears are concerned. Now, I haven't actually seen those behind the ear headphones before. So I think that's super cool. And we'll link to all of this in the show notes. You can go to podcast.virtualsummits.com/077. And we'll also include a picture. Dave's been so kind as to take an actual picture of his setup. So for those of you listening here on the audio podcast, you can actually see what he's talking about as well. So we'll put all that in the show notes. And maybe if Dave wants to include the specific brands he used, we can put those in there as well as far as the equipment. So let's kind of move a little bit past the actual equipment. Let's talk about the setup, because we've talked about the fundamental components, which I do believe, as a summit speaker or any kind of speaker, if you're doing the virtual, you should have a level of quality, like you were just saying, Dave. But now we were chatting pre-interview about the specifics of the setup. You've got some really cool stuff. We'll take a screen capture from my view as well, and we'll put it in the show notes. But try and go ahead and describe a little bit of why the setup's important and what we're talking about when it comes to setup.
Yeah, well, like we had kind of mentioned before, when you do a virtual summit or you're doing interviews, video interviews or whatever, that person is sitting there staring at you, most likely, and listening to what you have to say. So what can you do about the visual that kind of helps either with the cause or helps with the branding or helps with making it more entertaining for them? And so one particular thing that I think is really important is thinking about what's in your background. Okay. If you just have a white wall, I mean, that's fine, but you're missing out on an opportunity to either personalize yourself, increase your branding, increase your brand awareness, or what have you. I'll tell you right now that the setup that I have back here is actually a bit off, because I just bought this couch. My wife was like getting sick of me going upstairs at 2 a.m. and waking her up when I go to sleep. She's like, "You're sleeping on a couch." So I'm like, well, then I'm buying a nice couch. But we just put this in here, and so I have to rearrange things. But here's the thing, though. In the back here is what I have is a bookshelf that I found on Amazon. But more importantly, I put a lot of personalized items in there. I get more comments from people about what's back there. And, it goes from my like Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, and Ted Williams ball to my infinite love for Star Wars and Darth Vader's mask, my ice hockey goalie mask, which I was always called Spider-Man, to, just all these things. And I find that people will sit there and stare and look at them and think about it. And it's almost like a window into who I am. Okay.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Another thing that I used to have, which I've actually moved to a different section of my office, was this little light that had my logo on it, and it would glow in the other corner. And so it was like a little bit of a reminder of the Kindlepreneur brand and our logo and who we are. So when the person's sitting there watching you, again, you're just having something that reminds them of who you are personally and what you do. The other thing that I have over here, which just gets a lot of laughs, is that those 3 are comic books of mine. They're my favorite comic books as a kid. I actually frame them like their artwork. Some people think that's great. Some people think that's ridiculous, but that's who I am. Like, I get a lot of motivation from looking at my childhood favorite art. And so I get to put it in my office, and I love that. And there's just a little knickknacks, little things that help people to understand who I am. And so I would say to anybody out there, think about your background. Think about what it is you want to put out there. I'm not being false here, and I'm not being markety or whatever. But when somebody's watching you for an hour, give them something to learn about you without having to say it. And your background can really say a lot. So consider your background. Now, one thing too that comes into the background is lighting. You may notice, and again, this is not as well done because we had to move everything just recently. But I bought some LED light strips. You can find them there's like $25 ones out there that are made in Taiwan, but you can control all the colors. And I just basically tape that to the back of the bookshelf, and you can literally just turn around and let's see if it's going to work right now. There we go. Turn it off, turn it on. I even did the same thing to behind my my screen here. I have 3 screens. And so I taped those same lights to the back of it. So I have this blue glow. I can change the colors. It kind of helps me relax, or it helps me to get in the mood when I'm in work mood, but it also gives a bit more lighting that kind of comes up and gives a blue light. If I turn it off, maybe we'll see a difference just a bit. You can see it turn on, off, but I can change those things. But again, that's just another thing that I really like about the setups. And so again, just think about your lighting. Think about how you want to either put a spotlight on something or not, and think about what it is that you're showing people when they're on the screen.
I really love the aspect of this, because I think you mentioned, I'm not being markety. I think it's so much more than that. It's not being markety. It's actually allowing your audience, one, to connect with you personally on a personal level without having to be markety. They get to see, like you just said, like, what do you care about? What do you love? What are you interested in? And then I can immediately interact or attach that if I share similar interests. But I think it also, you just mentioned this. So for every, all of our Summit hosts listening in here, I mean, Dave's just dropping so much golden nuggets. I just want to pull this apart for a second. Is it also affects you, right? When you go to work, you have to get in a mindset, and
Yeah.
you have to put on that kind of that my good buddy Todd Herman talks about, alter egos. So you got to put on whatever that persona is for the moment. So do you have any thoughts behind that? Like when you go into maybe going into a summit speaker, I know we're kind of going a little off on a different, kind of tangent here, but what do you do to kind of prep your mindset before you go and deliver a talk? Because, you may be impacting thousands and thousands of people.
Well, not all the time, but sometimes I have an actual like pump up music list. Because, let's face it, like if I come into this thing and I'm just like, well, so there I was, and we did this and it was pretty cool. I mean, how are they supposed to get excited about what you have to say when you're as flat as a board? So I might listen to my little pump up mix. I've got the Muse song Survival. That's probably my favorite. So I will like start jamming out. That'll get me a bit pumped up. I've done that for a couple of interviews. The other thing too is that I just really set up my office in a way where I'm just, how they have like man caves, right? Like in most, when they say man caves, it's like a big TV screen with football and stuff like that. No, I designed my office to be a bit of my man cave, and it's just full of things that I'm jazzed about. I smile. I enjoy. I love my office. It really sets me in a happy mood. I do have some sports paraphernalia. What can I say? I'm a big fan. I've got a Roger Clemens game worn jersey signed. I'm a diehard baseball fan. Red Sox. And just little things. I've got pictures of my kids in the most goofiest moments. I've got quotes from my favorite movies on the wall. It's just being able to put your personality and just remember that, from all the hard work that was done, that was able to create this opportunity to be home and have this office and have these things, just motivates me. And it makes it very clear for me to be able to talk about what we do, because I can see the benefits around me as we speak.
Man, this is so good. And just to relate that back to everybody, all the Summit hosts listening in there, it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're just getting started, you could literally have one thing on your little plastic, foldable desk or whatever you have, whatever you're getting started with, put something there that jazzes you up, that gets you excited. And I love this. I'm kind of nomadic, so I'm a little bit all over the place. I'm actually recording this episode right now from my good friend John Lee Dumas and Kate Erickson's office. So Kate, I know she's a listener too. So thank you so much for letting us use this. But put stuff in there that gets you happy and that gets you excited. So I love that, Dave. That was great takeaway. Because again, it's work, and it's more than just work. It's your life, and you need to have fun while you're doing it too. So as we start to wrap this up, Dave, I'd like to kind of just specifically look at the summit and speaking opportunities there. From your experience, is there any kind of top takeaways or maybe some wisdom that you could share on to some of our summit speakers from a speaker standpoint that you've had in your journey?
Well, I would definitely say one particular thing is I really like the headphones. That's really helped out a lot. It's not something you hear a lot of people talk about. You'll get people that get on there and they have the big old giant, these are actually the headphones that I listen to when I'm in the office. So imagine me sitting here talking to you like this, and instead of like this. That's definitely one particular quick giveaway I would give. But also, if I were to add one more, I would say that for speakers is look at your information and remember that most of the time when you do this, you don't have a screen capture video. You don't have the ability to show something. So instead you have to tell. But what can really help people is making sure that you have a resource that they can go to, either it's notes on what you just talked about, or it's an article that helps to really flesh out an idea that you talked about, but give them ability to go that next step and to learn from what it was you were discussing.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
So good. And then let's flip this around because we have a lot of summit hosts and they're always trying to get speakers on. Over at Viral Summits and Virtual Summit software, we're kind of the anti-list grabbers. We're talking about making an impact and how your message matters. I would love to understand from your perspective, having had summit hosts reach out to you, maybe something that you've experienced, either that was like, wow, that was really good, or I'm honored to be on this summit because of this, or even from the other aspect where you're like, man, are people really doing that? So whatever kind of pops up into your mind that you can share with our summit hosts.
One thing that's a go, no go for me is that if I get the feeling that the person just copied and pasted the same thing in the offer opportunity email, right? And they say, hi, Dave. And then it's obviously copy and paste from that point on. Most likely, I'm just going to say no. Because to me, it's like, well, did you really care that much into who I am or having me be a part of this summit? Or are you just trying to get as many people that are popular to show up? And to me, that gives me an understanding of the level of quality in the summit you're putting together, which therefore gives me an understanding of, do I really want to be a part of something that somebody's willy-nilly putting together, or that they're taking the time to really craft the right list of people to get the right content so that they can provide the most benefit to their listeners. So try not, I understand that's a lot of work, but try not to just copy and paste and rote everything, and instead be personal. If you really want somebody to come on and spend an hour of their time, and do all of this prep work that you just saw and stuff like that, let them know that this is truly something you care about to the point that you will personally reach out.
Man, so good. That is so good. And that sets you apart, and that's how you build relationships. So please listen to that wisdom that Dave's sharing there. So we're going to start to wrap this up now. Dave, one, can you let our audience know where's the best place to kind of get in touch with you? Because I know a lot of them are tell me a little bit more about the Kindlepreneur information, as well as maybe potentially having you on one of their summits. So what's the best way to get in touch with you? Where do you hang out at? And then maybe one final piece of wisdom.
Sure. Well, the best way to do it would be to go to kindlepreneur.com. That's like Kindle Entrepreneur, kindlepreneur.com. And I've got a contact page there. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns from anything you heard, I'd be more than happy to respond. Just hit me up there. And one thing that I would definitely recommend is that for anybody out there listening, I know that sometimes it can be really scary getting on video. I know that it can be crazy realizing that somebody's going to be listening or people are watching you as you're talking. One thing I'd like to do is I like to go to famous podcasters' podcasts and listen to their first episode, or go to some YouTuber's video and watch their first video. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm cool. I'm good. John, you're just talking about John Lee Dumas. I remember he had an episode about this, and that's where I actually learned it. So I'm stealing it from you, John. And he had a clip of his first ever interview, and it was, he said it, but it was embarrassing. And it helps to give you that motivation and that understanding of everything doesn't need to be perfect, but get started. So keep that in mind. If you ever need a little confidence boost, go ahead and hit that up. My first ever YouTube videos is atrocious, and I'll leave it up there.
That is such good advice, good wisdom. And you're right, JLD says that very, very frequently. So we can definitely put that in there. I love it. So thank you so much, Dave. This has been an absolutely incredible interview. I've had the honor of getting to know you and loving that setup. We're definitely going to put a screen capture of that in the show notes. So thanks again for taking the time to share your wisdom.
Sounds good. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks over there to Dave. Thanks to all of you world changers, you summit hosts listening today, spending this time with me and Dave. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of the Virtual Summit Software. Remember, your message matters. Be sure to check out all this information, get links to everything we've talked about, and check out that screen capture we're going to include over at the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/077. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.